So PJ, as CEO of the Nonviolence Institute,
COO.
CEO,
Big difference.
right? We've been trying to get nonviolence education into schools for quite some time now. It's one of our biggest goals, one of our biggest missions. Just explain to me, what do you think is the reasons why it's taken so long, or some of the setbacks into making this happen?
I think the number one reason for us not being in there has a lot to do with funding. To go into a public school or any school without the resources, you're setting yourself up for failure. So sending one trainer into a school is just won't work well. So I think the number one thing is funding. It's not a lot of funding to get this done, but funding nonetheless. Second reason, I think, is because of all the standards and testing and things that teachers have responsibility to deliver to their students, and to make sure that they're, ready for all the certain standardized testing that's there. Teachers are burdened every year with new curriculums, new regulations, new standards, new everything. So I think teachers themselves are overwhelmed at trying to bring something else in, even though I believe the majority of teachers understand the importance of something like nonviolence. I think they would welcome it, any kind of support around character building and values type trainings and things, anti-bullying, all that kind of stuff. And you get all that with our nonviolence curriculum. So I just think it's finding time in their days to bring it in is probably the next biggest thing. And then I'd say the third reason is historically, in an urban school setting, there's a lot of movement with principals and teachers. So a lot of principals moving to new schools, having to establish themselves in those new schools, teachers moving from 8th grade to 5th grade, from 5th grade to kindergarten, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of transitioning in urban school settings. So even if we get in and we have been, I think it's hard to sustain it because of all the mobility with the administration and staff. So I think those are the top three reasons why it's been really hard to get the nonviolence in. Because I do believe the superintendents, I believe the mayors and teachers all want it in. It's just a matter of figuring out how to put it in.
And how important is it for us to get nonviolence into the schools? How will it help the community, the schools, the teachers, the students?
I think it's crucial that nonviolence is in schools, because a lot of the street level violence that you see are things that boil over from school, whether it's issues that weren't ever able to be taken care of in schools, and then they a couple of years later they'll see each other, meet up or whatever, and an issue will be reignited. Or it's just it's going home and talking to family members or friends, and who get all energized and go after each other that way. I mean, it's so important that we're in schools, because they're there. It's mandated that we all go to school, and it's a captive audience, if you will, and I think it also shows younger generations that if we have nonviolence in schools, what that says about us as a society, what that means, what our values are as a society, and that we feel that it's important that our younger generations are trained or experienced or are taught how to communicate properly with each other and how to build relationships. So I think it's very, very crucial that nonviolence is taught in schools.
One more last question. So moving forward from this point on, what are maybe 2 or 3 small steps that the Institute can, or me myself as the Director of Training, do you think I should do or to get this project moving forward?
Well, on a bigger level, the Institute needs to continuously figure out and help almost go to the school systems with solutions on how to make this work. And I think we have done that somewhat in the past. I think we need to build a solid team around you as the director. I think not just in terms of staffing here at the Institute, but in terms of outside educational support, other teachers who have experienced the training. And then the other kind of small step is not letting up on it, insisting that we're in schools every year, even though we get kind of beat back on it. Every year, trying to pick off 1 or 2 classrooms where we can make a difference in and begin to kind of really continue to show that it works. And then maybe the third thing is just that is putting something together that some actual kind of data and being able to present it as a complete story, not just it's the right thing to do, but here's the data that supports it being the right thing to do. So I think those are kind of the smaller steps that, and I'm hopeful that I'm very hopeful that in the next year or so we will be in a school system. May not be the capital city, maybe another smaller city, or it could be, but I'm hopeful that we're going to be in a school system within the next year or 2.
Do you think we have a better chance of making this happen in Providence, or as you just mentioned, maybe another school out of Providence?
I think it's equally. I think in Providence could definitely happen. I don't know if it's going to be a district-wide initiative. I do think we could. I do feel very hopeful that we'll be able to pilot something major in at least 1 or 2 schools over the next year or so. Smaller districts are easier to handle in terms of, there's not as many schools, there's not as many teachers, there's not as many factors in smaller districts. So I'm hopeful that and smaller districts might be the place to start for us to really give us some good evidence. Although we know it works because we've been doing schools since the Institute started 12 years ago or 13 years ago now. So I mean, we've done it. We've done it in Woonsocket. We've been very effective in certain public schools in Providence, Central Falls, Pawtucket. We have a history of being in schools, and it's just a matter. It's all about prioritizing. It's all about helping school systems and districts figure out that this is a much needed. A very important piece of educating our young people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.